Welcome everyone to Choice Conversations, the podcast dedicated to helping you improve your life, one choice at a time. I'm your host, Chris Stefanik. Let's do this. All right, today I'm bringing you a discussion I had with Mike and Lauren. Mike and Lauren, they tell their tale of how they obtained financial freedom, how they were able to retire early, and they used extreme savings and an online business, a quote-unquote lifestyle business to achieve that. So really good stuff. I believe they're just in their 20s and already, in a quote-unquote, retirement. So, and then they've used that to enable a perpetual traveler lifestyle. So perpetual travel is a topic I've talked about in other episodes, and so we're combining several things here: early retirement, financial freedom, perpetual travel, entrepreneurship, online businesses, and on top of that, we get into some parenting because they now have a 1-year-old, and so they tell us about how their life has changed and how they've been able to continue this lifestyle with an infant. So awesome stuff. As far as I'm concerned, these two are like rock stars, in the financial freedom world, the financial freedom circles that I run in. I consider them rock stars. So really fun to interview them. They're a cute couple. Fun to talk to. Before I bring you that, if you would like to help out the show, the best way to do that is to go to patreon.com/choiceconversations and sign up. So I'll put a link to that in the show notes. All right, here's the interview with Mike and Lauren. Mike, Lauren, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I'm so glad you could be with me today. So for my listeners who might not be familiar with your work, why don't you take a few minutes and just kind of introduce yourselves and maybe give a little bit of your story?
Sure. Well, I'm Lauren, and Mike and I have been married for almost 9 years now. We actually met in high school. We were high school sweethearts, and we knew pretty early on that we weren't going to do things quite the way we were supposed to. The white picket fence, 2.5 kids, that sort of thing.
Right. And
from really early in our marriage, we happened to be saving a high percentage of our income. And so that's sort of what snowballed everything we've been doing, that we realized that we could save more and we could do more. So we could travel and do all these things that we wouldn't get to living the traditional lifestyle.
And so we have a YouTube channel where we post our exploits or adventures, whatever you want to call them. And it's a combination of a travel channel, a personal finance channel, a DIY channel.
It's a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I really like woodworking and making things with my hands, so a large portion of our channel is dedicated to that. And currently we are converting a 24-foot enclosed trailer to be half living space and half mobile workshop. And we're traveling the country and helping our fans on YouTube with their DIY projects. And so we'll live in the front half and have every tool that we need in the back to complete any weekend DIY project.
And we have a son, Hudson, who just turned 1 in the middle of February. And so he's, of course, tagging along with us on all of these adventures now.
Right. That is so awesome. All right, and your trailer is going to be pulled by a truck?
Yes, so we had a 40-foot RV that was pulling this 24-foot trailer. That was the initial plan. Mm-hmm. And we found that the rig was just absolutely too long to get into the neighborhoods where people lived. Go figure, people live in neighborhoods.
Or even trying to get into campgrounds.
Right.
It was just, it was a bit of a headache.
Sure.
So in total, we were 71 feet long, so longer than a semi by about a foot. And
wow. So
we actually sold the RV and disassembled our mobile workshop so that we could divide that trailer in half. So we're currently in between homes, if you will, as we build out the trailer.
Wow. And so this is going to be like a tiny home, right? My daughter loves to watch that tiny home show on HGTV.
Yep, it'll be 12 feet long and 8.5 feet wide, so just over 100 square feet.
Right. And I guess you guys in order to do something like that, you of course have to be like super minimalist, right?
And just using the space wisely is what we're learning. We're trying to, if you can get double out of a space, that's good. If you can get triple duty out of a space, then that's even better. So
can you maybe give me an example of what that might look like?
Yeah. So, for example, for the shower is going to be on a fold out wall. So the shower wall is going to be our clothes storage. It's going on the front side. On the back side is going to be the shower, which can then fold into the wall so that you just have the open space. And then the shower curtain for that shower is also the door for the bathroom. So in that case, it's, a dresser, shower, and open floor space for Hudson to play around.
Gotcha. And I'm imagining you have lofts in there to give you even more space.
We're actually going to go with the Murphy bed idea because we needed Hudson to have his own bed. We're doing a double, a bunk Murphy bed.
Well, it'll be a sofa when the bed's closed up, and then the bed will come down, and then there will be a smaller bed that is Hudson's that'll come down that we'll be able to block off with blackout curtains.
So that Murphy bed is actually going to be an example of, four duties out of one. It'll be underneath storage in the couch. The dining room table will flip down from the bed. The couch is butted up against the bed, and then the bed comes down, and then the bunk comes down above that. So it's actually a bunk bed, a couch, a sofa, and a dining room table.
Okay, yeah, I had no idea what that was. So while you were talking, I just Googled it, and I'm looking at some images, and that is freaking brilliant. Wow.
Yeah. We have a video I think it's called Virtual Tour, where I have the 3D modeling all done for that.
So you can get an idea of
how to actually look and work. Yeah.
Right. So did you make this custom yourself? I mean, since you're so handy, or did you because the images, when I searched for it, IKEA was the top returning link, right?
Yeah. We're working on our own model that'll be, built to our exact, sizes, because we'll actually be a little shorter than a normal couch because we only have so much width. So it'll be completely custom that I'm making.
Yeah, I would be so disappointed if you'd bought it off IKEA. I just ended the interview right here.
No, yeah, sorry. IKEA's fine if for some things, but not great, to be honest.
Well, this way it gives you more material for your YouTube channel as you're putting this together, right? So,
yep, exactly. Yeah, ask our accountant. Everything is a business expense because we make videos about everything.
Right. Nice. That's too cool. All right. Nice. All right. So, wow. Yeah, we could just do a whole show on tiny homes.
Yeah.
All right. So you said when you started off that you were able to save a lot of money early on, and that was one of the keys to helping you kind of escape the culture trap that the roadmap that's laid out for us. This is what you're supposed to do, quote unquote. So what were some of your strategies for being able to put money away? Because I know when I started off, for me, I was paycheck to paycheck, and I had some credit card debt from coming out of college, and it was basically I was not doing a whole lot more than just paying the minimum payments on that, minimum payments on my student loans, and was really paycheck to paycheck. And granted, I was making pretty good money for a guy right out of the college. I had a computer engineering degree and was like a database administrator, computer programmer type guy, but I was not really thinking. I had no roadmap ahead of me. I didn't have a wife and any kind of thoughts of where am I going to be 10 years from now or beyond that, and was just kind of enjoying life. And I probably could have saved money. I'm sure I could have saved money had I thought about it and looked into minimalism and things like that. But yeah, that for me, it was that was not happening at all until I started making way more money than what I was when I first started. So I guess to go back to my original question, what were your strategies?
Mike and I were lucky because he has always had an interest in personal finance. He would listen to Dave Ramsey podcasts when he was 18 years old, driving around in his car. And so that kind of started for us that we wanted to be able to save money and know where we were going to get.
But practically where it came from is, most people spend their money on their house and their transportation and their food. So, we have always sought out creative housing situations, and we could go down the list if you want to spend 20 minutes, but, anytime where there's an opportunity for us to live somewhere for less than market value, that's, what we'll take. So just to give you an example, in our area, everyone wants to live in Florida. Our houses are stucco and they've got, the paver driveway and they're the 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Well, we found, a small house that, 900 square feet that was built in the 50s and it was $600 rather than the average going rate around here is $1,500. And so we look for those creative, opportunities for housing. And then as far as transportation goes, we just have never had a car loan. I had a car loan when I first turned 16. I bought into the lie that a new car was what everybody needs and absolutely hated the payment. Within, how long did I have that? Less than a year, I think. I realized that this is just, it's a depreciating asset that I'm paying monthly for the privilege of losing money. It just didn't make sense to me at all. And that was honestly a big catalyst for getting into personal finance because I was looking at this payment I was making on something that I was losing money on already, and I just wanted to learn why do we decide to do it this way. So then from then on, we've never had a car loan of any kind and have always purchased our cars cash, in the $5,000 to $10,000 range. So we don't buy beaters, but we do buy, 5-year-old cars cash. So that is a huge chunk of money. I think the average car payment right now is over $500 a month. So then you add that, 2-car household plus insurance, blah, blah, blah. And then food is our struggle for sure. We eat out just as much as the next couple. But we still, manage to keep that under wraps. So just by those 3 things, we've just have always saved about 50% of our income as a married couple. And so that allows us to save and travel and wait for opportunities, which I guess would be the flip side of that is when you have just a little bit of cash in the bank, even if it's $10,000 or $20,000, opportunities arise and you're able to jump on them. And then, as they say, I guess the rich get richer. I don't know if that's a good analogy or not, or encouraging or whatever. But when you have the freedom from debt to actually jump on opportunities and the cash to do it, it just kind of snowballs, to be honest.
Right. Yeah, the car thing is really interesting. The people, I think people just don't think it out, and it's not taught in schools. Like, you were self-taught in finance by, listening to podcasts, right? And it's, I'll give you an example. So I had a car that it was over 100,000 miles and, it was, actually, I think it was maybe like 100. Yeah, I think it was about 100, 110, something like that. And there was like maybe an $800 repair needed to be made on it. And I was talking to this person and they're like, well, at that point, you rather than putting that money in the old car, you might want to just, use that towards the down payment on the new one, rather than throwing, good money into a product that's fallen away. And I'm like, $800, I'm like, how much is a car payment? And I haven't made a car payment in years either. Me and my wife, we've been buying our cars cash for, over 10 years now. And, that's going forward, we're like, we will never have a car payment. But I'm just sitting there and I'm like, okay, but have you thought about this? If you get a new car that you're guaranteed, like if you're, if the average is 500, let's say, you're guaranteed to be putting $500 in this car every month,
right?
For the next, how many years? Where this is like, 800, and yeah, maybe you don't know when your next repair is coming, and it'll be a little more frequent because it's an older car instead of a new one. But I'm like, you think how many times you have to have that thing break down to equal out to $500 a month guaranteed,
right?
Before you were better off spending $500 a month. This thing has got to be a real jalopy to be breaking down just like constantly.
Right, exactly. And the depreciation on a newer car is probably, it's because all of our cars that we've bought, and sold, we've bought them at or near what we paid for them, just because, when you buy something in that range, we're able to make up what we paid for it. So we're essentially just paying for repairs, which are pretty infrequent. Like you said, how often is it really going to be an $800 repair? And it's honestly, in our experience, and I'm sure yours too, not that frequently. Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
All right. And one of the things I really love about what you all are doing, and it's fascinating to me, is this perpetual travel lifestyle. I've had a couple perpetual travelers on the show in the past and discussed how they do it. And, traveling is a big part of what I do, but I'm not a perpetual traveler. I do have a home, and me and my wife both have 9-to-5 jobs. We have a lot of vacation time and we use it, but we're not able to do what you're doing with our current situation. We would definitely have to make some serious changes to do that. But so, I'm fascinated about that. And I guess first of all, before we get into like the how you're doing it, like with your online businesses and the like, and keeping your expenses low and everything. What about when did you like start thinking that this would be something you would want to do? Like when were you like, you know what? Why even have a house? We should just be traveling around. What like could you lead me to through that thought process?
That's a great question.
It is a great question. Well, it kind of started, we had always wanted to do a backpacking trip through Europe. And so 4 years ago now, we bought tickets and then asked our bosses after if we could take 2.5 months off of work. And they both agreed amazingly. So we both had jobs to come back to. And that was sort of what started this whole idea that, hey, if we can get enough income from online or doing things that we don't have to be in one place, why don't we try that? And we can travel around and see new places and travel a little bit slower than we did on that trip, but get to live this different lifestyle and not need to be in one place.
And ultimately our goal, I'm sure people are curious, so what's your long-term plan? Perpetual travel is not our long-term plan. Our plan is to have, rather than one, cookie cutter house here in our hometown of Florida or something like that. We'd rather have 2 or 3 smaller houses, again, more creative ways to save money on that around the world. So we're looking at property in Costa Rica where our son was born, which we could get into that if you'd like. But so we're looking, we'd like a house in Costa Rica. We'd like something in Europe. We're thinking, a creative solution to that is to buy a barge and convert it into a houseboat. And we've done all the math on that of, getting mooring for the winter and stuff like that. And so the idea would be we have our RV here in the States. We have our off-grid retreat in Costa Rica. And then we would have our barge, in Europe that we would go, you do the barge in the summer and Costa Rica in the winter and the RV in between. And it's just, I guess the why is why not, really.
I know. It's why are you doing what you're doing, Chris?
Right. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, exactly. Given the opportunity. And I think, we have the opportunity in front of us. We have been slowly building our YouTube channel to the point where we're not making a lot of money, but it's enough for us. We've hit critical mass, I guess. And we're at the point where we can grow our online business and still live the lifestyle that we want. And so why not? Why wouldn't we take advantage of that opportunity?
Right. Yeah, it's really interesting if you look at cutting what you spend, how little you actually need to get by,
Right.
Exactly.
I had on I think the first Perpetual Traveler guest I had on was a woman by the name of Lainey Liberty, and she does a blog, and it's a Raising Miro on the Road of Life, I believe is what it's called. Where she and her son basically have like backpacked across South America, and they've been doing it like for years and years. I mean, last I checked, they were still doing it, and it was 5-8 years or more that they've been doing this, just taking their time, going move to one city, stay there as long as they feel like it. When they're ready to go to the next, take a bus, hike, whatever, and then go, and then they find a place to live cheap. And she said basically, if she can get just like $1,000 a month from her online businesses, that covers their expenses.
Right. Yep.
And it's just, I'm sitting here looking and like, even like without having an online job giving me $1,000 a month, if my expenses are just $1,000 a month with what I've saved up for retirement at this point, and I'm 42 years old, I'm like, I can retire right now just based on my retirement if I'm willing to like get my expenses down, right?
Exactly.
So it's pretty intriguing, and it's just the culture in the United States, and I imagine it's like this in much of the West. It's such a materialistic, consumer-driven culture where there's like all these status symbols of keeping up with the Joneses and. As cool as shows like as the channel like HGTV is with its like tiny homes and stuff. Most of the stuff that's on there is about like how to like put all this money into your home and have this really awesome house with the granite countertops and the marble bathrooms and pools and stuff like that to like have something nicer than your neighbors, right? And they're like these $1 million homes that are nice. They're really pretty, but they don't really. I'm like, really, that's $1 million. I'm like, wow, what I could do with $1 million, just like living life and having experiences out on the road, rather than being like putting $1 million into a stationary home that, it just gives me like a roof over my head. I'm like, I don't know. That equation doesn't seem to, equal out to me.
No.
Exactly. And then it's what you do is you just keep ratcheting down. So to you, $1 million house is, you think, well, imagine what I could do with $1 million. And you take a zero off that and you say $100,000 house, imagine what I could do with 100,000. And that's what that, when you were talking about is saying, imagine how long I could travel with my son for $100,000 or something like that. And
If
you just keep ratcheting back and you're still happy, because ultimately at the end of the day, what are we all searching for? We're searching for happiness. And I think the $1 million house, or even honestly, the $300,000 house is a bit of an illusion. And at least that's what we think. And that's why we've chosen the path that we're on. Because we're just as happy as long as that roof is over our head, and as long as we have those 4 wheels and with air conditioning here in Florida, we're happy to get around in that.
Right. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. So yeah, and that's one of the things that my wife and I were looking at, retiring early. And I don't know that it would necessarily be like retiring in the traditional sense where we're just living off our income. It might be more like what your guys are doing, where I'm just finding some way to make money off of things I love doing.
Exactly.
I'm like, okay, well, if I retire at 45, what the hell am I going to do with the second half of my life? Because
exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
We're not talking about sipping pina coladas on the beach.
Right.
And I'm like, well, I might as well, if I can find I'm going to find some activities to keep me interested. I might as well find something that can give me an income stream so that I have some protection. And
to us, we define retirement as not having to work. I personally, if we want to get on the subject of happiness, I think a big part of that is meaningful work. I think as humans, we need that sense of accomplishment, and naturally you're going to be compensated if you are actually providing value to people. If you get into the early retirement scene and kind of look around to people who have done it, we're in process, but everyone who has done it that I have seen has found they're making more money in retirement, quote unquote, just because when you're free to do what you love and you don't have to do it and you're free to do it without restrictions, it becomes a little bit more genuine, authentic, and therefore more valuable to people, and you're just naturally going to make money from that.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty neat how that works.
Yeah.
And, it's just, it takes courage, because the culture all around us is telling us one thing, that this is how it has to be done. And to not just follow along with the herd does take some courage, So I applaud you all for doing that.
And honestly, we've gotten pretty comfortable with the herd, going against the herd or that kind of stuff. What's, the scary part is, we're young now. What are we going to think in 20 years about our decisions we're making today? Because we're kind of locking into we're not locked into anything, but we've decided on a, lower income, lower expenses style of life. What if that changes in 30 years? And all we can do is just kind of follow our gut right now. But that to us is more difficult than keeping up with the Joneses. And I guess that's just because of 10 years of not really caring. You just develop a thick skin.
Right.
Once you get started, I think then you get the momentum going, and then it becomes much easier. And in our world today, where this movement is kind of growing, the perpetual travel movement, the 4-hour work week movement, I don't know what you want to call it, but where people are doing these lifestyle jobs, where the internet entrepreneurs, there's a big community for that now out there, so you don't feel so alone.
Right.
If you can find others that are like you, and then kind of sit back and talk and look at how crazy. And the funny thing about all of this is it's like once you've discovered it and become comfortable with it, what's supposed to be normal is now looks crazy, right? And even though to the normal people you look crazy.
Yep.
So it's it's just a really bizarre thing, and it's like I've equated this to, and I've done it in several areas of my life. I've stepped out of the mainstream point of view, right? And what culture tells us how things should be. And I call it, I like the I like the analogy of the Matrix, where it's like you took the red pill, and it's now you see the world for what it really is. But if you tell people about it, the average person is just going to think you're crazy. They're like, yeah, yeah, whatever, dude. We're a simulation and a program. Wow, you're nuts. But it's like, actually, no, you actually see things much clearer than they are, you know?
Right.
'Cause they're just seeing this illusion that culture has painted for them.
And you're never going to argue someone into your belief. So, everyone, you believe what you believe, and I'll believe what I'll believe. But, in the words of, what is it? Dr. Phil, how's it working out for you? Like, are you doing exactly what you want to be doing? Do you love your job? Are you excited to get up every morning? If you're not, then change it. That's the end result, or the beginning really is, we wake up and do exactly what we want to do, within reason. Obviously we have long-term goals that sometimes we do things we don't want to do to achieve those goals. But if you're not happy, I don't think people, are willing to change. They feel trapped, and rightfully so, I guess, but even just a little bit of movement of the needle in the opposite direction towards what you want to be doing every day will compound year after year after year, and you'll be better off in the long term.
Right. Yeah. I couldn't agree more. That's the changes are made, one step at a time. Right. So. Yep,
exactly. And that's actually sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but that's honestly a lot of why we have our YouTube channel, is even for ourselves, because, one day we're going to wake up and we're going to have this ideal lifestyle that we planned out, and we're going to wonder, how the heck did we get here? And people are going to ask, well, yeah, it'd be great. I'd love to have a barge in Europe if I had XXX or this, and this. And we can say, no, we started here, and little step by little step by little step, here's how we got here. And here's a video for each one of those steps along the way.
Right, yeah. Yeah, because I think that's one of the things that discourages people from going down this path is they look at the end goal and they're like, oh, I could never get to that.
Right.
They can't imagine what all it would take to get there, but what it takes is just one little change each day that's real simple.
Exactly.
Just one small step. And that's very easy to see, but they don't realize that that's really what is required,
Right.
So yeah, it's definitely really interesting once you start diving in, that it's really not difficult. That's another thing too. Is like, well, that's so difficult. Or the funny thing is like people say, well, I could never have I don't have enough money to do the things that you guys do.
Exactly.
Which is like missing the point entirely. It's like, no, that's the thing is that we're doing it. It doesn't take a lot of money. That's how we're able to do it.
Exactly. And I guarantee you probably think about money more than we do. And that's the irony of it all, is, it doesn't take much to do, but you have to make a conscious decision to do it.
Right. Now, I did want to go back into the nuts and bolts a little bit. The philosophy is really fun to discuss too. But so you were talking about having these 3 places you stay. And, you guys are also mindful of keeping expenses low. So I'm wondering if you've looked at stuff like, having like using your like house in Costa Rica as a rental property when you're not using it, like Airbnb, or is that on the radar, or are you not?
Oh, that's the plan, full blown plan. Yeah. So anytime we can generate an income and get utility for ourselves, we're all about that. And so actually at this point we're deciding, do we want to just do the Airbnb thing or go full blown bed and breakfast and have a caretaker for the property? And so yes, that absolutely. And then on the barge, those, barging trips around Europe go for between $5,000 and $10,000 a week if you charter it. So our goal is to have 1 or 2 weeks out of that summer is where we charter, for a family to be able to travel Europe wherever they want. And those 2 weeks will fund our entire summer while we're there. And, with the RV, we have, a lot of our YouTube channel is dedicated to the RV. And the RV is just kind of our safety net, our fallback of, when we're not here or there, we have this. And then we're also very lucky. Lauren's mom, lives by herself, and she has a 3-bedroom house. So we're able to stay there in her guest room whenever, we want the extra space.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. What made you decide on Costa Rica? Of all the places that you could have a permanent building, and that you own, why Costa Rica?
Costa Rica is interesting because when we wanted to give our son dual citizenship, and so when I was pregnant, we started looking into different countries that we could go to that would allow citizenship by birth, and that list is pretty small. And so we had a couple options, but Costa Rica kept popping up, and we found some really great resources from people who had already traveled down there, Canadians and Americans who went down to give birth there. And we settled on Costa Rica. The more we looked into it, the more excited we got about it, because we saw that we thought eventually we could live there. And so we traveled down there to give birth to Hudson, and we were there for 5 weeks, and then we came back home. So he is a citizen of the United States and of Costa Rica. So by giving birth to him there, Mike and I become permanent residents, which our paperwork's going through right now. So by the end of this year, we should be permanent residents of Costa Rica. So that is how that started. And we were just down there about a month ago looking at property. So it was kind of a ultimately, Costa Rica, we just, when we're choosing places to live, it's, we're looking at a variety of things, but it's mostly the people and the weather. I think the weather, honestly, is the main reason why we just fell in love there. We're in the mountains, but it's in the valley of the mountains. So we have a beach here in Sarasota, so we're not interested in the tropical parts of Costa Rica. But in the mountains, it's just a steady 78 to 80 degrees year round. Never fluctuates, and we just fell in love with that weather in that area. So buying property there wasn't always the plan. The plan was to give our son dual citizenship, and we just fell in love with it when we went.
And what about like mosquitoes and things like that? Or how bad are the bugs in that area?
Well, where we were and where we're looking for property, there are hardly any bugs at all. I never saw a mosquito the whole time we were there. Once you go out to the coast, that's where it gets a little bit more tropical and humid, and that's where you'll find the bugs. But in the Central Valley, it's...
Every night drops down to 55 or 60 degrees, so it kind of keeps the bugs at bay.
Gotcha. That's really cool. Me and my wife were looking at different places to, quote unquote, retire to, and... We're also weather and people is a big thing. And of course, safety and security as well.
Right. Yes.
And one of the places that just looks amazing from a weather standpoint is the Canary Islands. Specifically, we like Las Palmas.
Nice.
And, we're planning to go there and check it out. We haven't actually been there. Of course, we want to go and check it out first.
Right.
Firsthand. But, the weather is just amazing. It's basically it's pretty much equivalent to San Diego.
Oh, yeah, very nice.
Maybe 1 or 2 degrees warmer. It's highs in the 70s in the summer. Highs in the 70s, lows in the 60s in the summer. Highs in the 60s, lows in the 50s in the winter, kind of thing. And
that's great. Yeah,
and it's very beautiful. They're volcanic islands, so they kind of remind me of some of the volcanic islands in the Caribbean or Hawaii. As far as how they look. Very very beautiful And the cost of living is really, really low. It's half of where I live right now in Cary, North Carolina, just outside of Raleigh. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty appealing, right?
Right.
But at the same time, it's it's a Spanish island in it's not exactly the most friendly from a paperwork standpoint to expats, and I'm what kind of hoops would I have to hop through?
Yeah.
If I wanted to live there and stay, would I be, how long would I be dealing with renewing visas? And I didn't look a lot into it. I'll look into it more after we go there and check it out and see if it's really something we want to do. But when I did look into it a little bit, it said basically it starts with us. We have to go to the U.S. offices, the U.S. government, and talk to them and get documents from them to start.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I'm why do I, to just move to your place? Why are you requiring me to go to it's the U.S. consulate or something like that?
Right.
Why am I having to go to the U.S. for this and get ask permission from them?
Interesting.
And is that right off the bat? I'm wow, I do not like that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. When we in Costa Rica, it's similar. It's a very difficult process. So we ended up hiring a lawyer down there to do all the paperwork for us. We considered doing it ourselves. We did all of Hudson's paperwork because that was pretty straightforward by ourselves. But for the permanent residency, it was $1,000 a person just to have him take care of everything, and he'll just tell us when to come down and get our residency cards.
Yeah. Sounds like money well spent.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that gives you that safety net too of, just if, God forbid, if, things go to hell in a handbasket, you've got somewhere else to, an escape hatch, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. We're definitely not, what do they call?
Preppers.
Not preppers, no. But it, definitely crossed our mind that, even just little random things. Say you're, wrongfully accused of something, a crime or something like that. Costa Rica doesn't extradite their citizens or their residents. So it's just little things that we're like, we'll probably never use this. And Hudson, I don't know. We just think it's cool. Honestly, we just do things because we think they're fun, adventurous, or cool.
Well, I mean, it's like an insurance policy. Nobody nobody gets fire insurance because they imagine their house is going to burn down. But if it does happen, you're really glad you got it, right?
Right,
so,
exactly. Yep.
It can't hurt having those things.
Right.
Exactly.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. And I'm kind of the same way. I'm not a doom and gloom kind of guy, but, I'm like, I mean, sometimes bad things do happen. So it would be nice to have those kind of escape hatches available, to have the flexibility and the agility to really quickly and easily move and have it not be a big deal.
Right.
By having a lifestyle that enables that. And then, it's just that much easier. You can sleep at night, right?
Right. Exactly.
Cool. All right. Well, let's see. How have things changed? Now you've got a 1-year-old. How has that affected your lifestyle?
That's a good question. And, culture will tell you it changes everything, and that better, bunker down. It's your whole life's upside down, and, kids cost $250,000, not including college. So good luck with early retirement. We're only a year in, but so far our life hasn't changed that. I mean, it's changed dramatically, don't get me wrong, but in the sense that people, it's gotten better.
Right. It's gotten a lot better. And we're very lucky that we were both able to leave our traditional jobs when Hudson was born. So we're both just at home now. Mike does all of his work from home, and I'm just taking care of Hudson. So it's been amazing so far that we've both had the opportunity to be around with him day to day.
And then, expenses wise, maybe we specifically, because we keep a pretty detailed budget, and we specifically did not want to track how much extra it cost to have Hudson, because we just, we publish this stuff, and we didn't want him to come back on his life and say, you cost this much, you cost us this much. So we definitely are purposely keeping that area gray. But I was, $30 to $50, maybe $80 a month extra for, diapers and formula. And then as far as travel goes, he has traveled.
He's been really good.
Yeah, he's traveled since day one. He was on an airplane at 3 weeks. So we have another Europe backpacking trip coming up in April, and we're taking him along. so
that'll be the first real test of how he does, because we'll be gone 7 weeks.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that will be interesting. But we've got everything kind of planned out.
He loved the RV as far as travel that way.
He did love the RV. That was an amazing way to travel with the baby.
And so a lot of the things we learned from the RV we're putting into the trailer. Mm-hmm. Mostly just, he needs open floor space. He's a 1-year-old. He just needs to run around. And so it's really kind of cool because we're able to design this trailer baby-proofed. We're not baby-proofing a pre-built trailer. We're building it from the ground up baby-proof.
Nice. Yeah, and again, just the more opportunities for content, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Since I became a content creator, a podcaster, I've always got my eye on. I'm like, I wonder if I could do a podcast about that.
Yeah, so exactly.
There's so many things I could say about that. I guess one, kids are really adaptable.
Yes,
they are.
People are like, oh yeah, you'll need to be hunker down, and me and my wife, we're big travelers. I mean, we're not big travelers relative to you all, but we're big travelers relative to like normal people. Mm-hmm. And we have like from day one, just taken our daughter with us. Mm-hmm. We've just always taken her with us. And so she's just always known traveling, like she was at 1 year old. We went, from Cary, North Carolina to Hawaii, mm-hmm. went out there for a couple weeks, and, and that's like the 12-hour flight, mm-hmm. and, not counting layovers and all that. And she's just been great for, she's like a champion traveler, and there's no, we like to hike, so we've always just taken her with us.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, from like a really young age, it's just been normal for her. And I remember like one time going camping with friends, and they had kids about the same age, and we're out, we went out like hiking for like pretty much most of the day, and like, we're an hour in, and their kids are like crying and asking to be carried and all this stuff, and like Morgan was like, look, she's like, Dad, what is wrong with them? She's 5 years old. Why? Let's go. And she's like leading the pack. I want to be. She's like in front. I want to lead. And so we go. She's now up to 11 years old, and we just got back from a trip out west, and we were hiking in the Grand Canyon, and we did like 11 miles one day. That was pretty much like straight down and straight back up the canyon. So pretty intense. Plus with like the air is thinner there, as it's at a different elevation, and a lot of adults would not be able to do, what she does, but her, it's just, she's never known anything different than that, and so it's just normal to her.
Well, that's really great to hear.
Yeah, it's encouraging for us, because we're hoping that's the case.
Exactly. We're hoping that he grows up knowing that that's just normal and not knowing different. So that's really nice to hear that it worked.
Right. Yeah. That's cool. And it's so great that you guys are able to be there, both of you are able to be there for Hudson, and as he's growing up, and see the first time he walks, his first words, his first and to have that provide that nurturing environment. We could do a whole show on parenting, where of course it's the most people have their kids by after just a few weeks in daycare, and they're being raised by other people, and it's not good for the parents. It's certainly not good for the kids.
Right.
And, that's I really applaud you for that. That's really, fantastic that you're able to do that.
Yeah. It's a big part of it. And honestly is delaying our plans, a little financially, but it's so worth it.
Right.
So worth it.
There's nothing we'd rather be doing right now.
Right. It comes back to what do you want to wake up and be doing? And that is spending time with Hudson and, building our business at the same time, and luckily we're able to do both.
Right. Yeah, it's like you said, it's so worth it. It's people have said, like, I've talked to people who don't want kids, and they look at there are like trade-offs to be made, right? And I'm like, of course there's trade-offs, like, but it's worth it. That's the thing. Like, it's like, well, yeah, but if we, or they have like people that have, one kid and one a second or something like that. But, if we got the second kid, there would be like all these trade-offs we'd have to make. And I'm like, but don't you think it would be worth it?
Yeah, right.
Like,
exactly.
Just think about how much love and joy you're bringing into your life.
Yep.
But I guess, for some people, it's not that way. If you are locked in the 9 to 5, and for a lot of people that's not just like 40 hours a week, that's like 60, 80 hours a week.
Yeah.
And your kid's like being raised by somebody else in daycare, and you're only getting to see him for a few minutes at night, and the kid's probably fussing because he doesn't want to go to bed, and and that's like your experience of parenting is just like this, you're already exhausted from a full 10, 12 hours at work.
Yep.
You come home and I could see it's where
totally
like
different.
It does change the equation a bit. It's people talk about how children are the number one priority. Children are the most important thing. But then if you look at how they're living their lives, they're not living their lives like their children are their most important thing.
Right. And that's, as a content creator, I'm sure you have experienced this, but so to make good content, you really have to take a hard stance. Like, people want your opinion as a content creator, and the more, we get life experience and the more we create content, the realization is, everyone has a different perspective. Everyone has different, passions. Everyone has just different everything. So you can't take a hard stance. So it's, in making videos, there's always this balance of, I want to say in video, like, kids are everything. I didn't necessarily want kids. I kind of sort of indifferent towards it, but now that I have one, I just want to take this hard stance. Like, yes, you have to have kids, but you can't.
I think Mike actually said this week that kids are the meaning of life.
Yeah. So you want to make that video because that's what people want, a hard stance on something, but you don't want to offend people either. There are those people that just are, like you said, that 60, 80 hours a week. They're not going to get the same experience that you have. And so you got to keep that in mind when you're, creating content like that.
Yeah, and it's an interesting dance that you do, and the beauty of it is with the internet and all of that is you can just be yourself.
Yeah.
And the people that are attracted to what you are will find you.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's gonna work out so much better for you in the long run than like trying to be something that appeals to a wider audience that isn't necessarily you.
Yeah, that's great.
And
yeah,
just realizing that, and that you don't have to appeal to everyone. I think there was some, and I haven't read the book, but I've heard a number of different people, podcasters, and like reference it. There's some book about like finding 1,000 true fans or something.
Yeah,
and it's like basically all you need is 1,000 true fans, and out of the billions of people on the planet, and you're set.
Yep.
Because if you can get 1,000 true fans that are willing to give you $100 a year,
yep,
for whatever value it is you're providing to them, you've got a 6-figure income.
Right.
And it's like, okay, there's what, we're close. Are we at 8 billion people yet?
I think we're getting pretty close. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then one of my, I don't even know, I think who quoted it or whatever, but even if you're 1 in a million, there's 7,000 other people exactly like you. And you can definitely find your 1,000 people to make your living.
Right. Yeah. That's great. I like that. I'm going to add that to my tool belt there to reuse.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, this has been a lot of fun talking to you all. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
If my listeners would want to see, what this adventure is like for you going on, how can they find out more and follow along?
Well, you can find us at mikeandlauren.com or mikeandlauren.tv. That will take you straight to our YouTube channel, or you can just search Mike and Lauren on YouTube. All of those things will lead to us.
Yep. Easiest for probably is just mikeandlauren.tv. You'll go straight to the YouTube channel.
Cool. All right. Sounds good. I will go ahead and link all of that in the show notes.
Cool.
Well, thank you so much for coming on today. It's been a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
All right. I hope you enjoyed that episode with Mike and Lauren. Go check out their YouTube channel. Lots of good content there. If you're interested in finance, perpetual travel, do-it-yourself kind of projects, we're just learning more about this how they're getting this done. It's like they said in the show, they've documented their story, they've documented their journey through their YouTube channel. So really, really interesting, really nice, high-quality videos and high content as well. Inspiring. If you enjoyed this episode, it would be great if you could become a patron for Choice Conversations. Go to patreon.com/Choice Conversations. That would be awesome. Another way that you could contribute is you could share the show. I would also greatly appreciate that. All right, folks. Take care. Have a great day. Or not. The choice is yours.